What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is episode 2 of my 4-part handstand series. So last episode we went over proper activation and warm-up, and this episode we're gonna go over one of the key elements towards your handstand, which is your hand placement and where your eyes are looking and your head position. This is gonna help with overall alignment and eventually balance. So to begin, we're gonna head down to the ground. So first we're gonna start off with the hand position. So for hands, you wanna make sure they're shoulder width apart, not too wide and not too narrow. Placing them down on the ground, nice straight arms, always keeping them straight. You want to lean forward and you want to think of having the weight into the top of your hands to where your calluses and where your fingertips are. So you want to think shoulders stacked over elbow and wrist, and that's your perfect alignment for your hand position. Now in terms of weight distribution, where it should be, you want to have your fingers wide, not holding your handstand like this, and you want to have the weight into your fingertips and in the calluses. So think of grabbing the floor and pulling it towards you as if you're like a cat in the sand, or just pulling a towel towards you. You can actually do a drill where you lay down a flat towel and physically pull it, so that way you have the visual feedback and the tactile feedback of feeling the pressure into the tops of your fingers. Okay, so now moving on to our gaze, you want to think of Peter, pointer, and thumb in terms of right in the middle of our hands. A lot of people like to look either too far in front or in behind, which makes it very difficult to balance. You want to have one focal point right in the middle, and ideally when you look, you also want to have your ears covered. So when you go into your handstand hold, arms above your head, looking up at your hands, making sure that your ears are covered, and it's more just your eyes looking up, not your entire head. So to give you a side profile view, when you go up to your handstand, you want to make sure everything's nice and covered so you can't see my ears, and I'm going to simply look up and look between my hands. I'm not out here and I'm not too wide. A really good tip for you guys when you're doing your handstand holds and practices is you should always feel the edges of your ears between your arms. That's how you know you have your straight overall alignment in terms of shoulder, elbow, wrist, as well as your head position is in the right spot. So that is it for the explanation, and then I'm gonna jump into a couple drills. So the first drill we're gonna do is an overhead body straight hold. So you can either use a band or a plate. So today's purpose, we're gonna do a band. This is for anyone who doesn't have any equipment at home. You wanna have your arms shoulder width apart, grabbing the band. You wanna make sure our pelvis is tucked, just like from episode 1. Glutes nice and tight, squeezing our legs, feet together. We're gonna bring our arms up and over our head, keeping a nice neutral spine, and we're just gonna change our gaze and look up at our hands, and we're gonna hold for 10 seconds. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you can bring it down and relax. So key things for this one is you never want to have your legs too far apart because it's not going to imitate a handstand. We want our legs close together. Preset your pelvis right before you put your arms overhead just to make it a little bit more secure, and that way you don't have to worry about it when you go up. So arms overhead. If you have tight lats, you're going to notice either you arch in your low back or you just can't fully extend arms over, and you won't be able to feel your ears between your arms. This is the same drill now with just a plate. So if you have a home gym or a gym that you can go to, definitely use a plate. The reason why I like this one is because our hands can actually be flat against the plate, very similar to holding a real life handstand. So same rules apply, feet together, having your pelvis tucked right off the bat, reaching right overhead, and then looking up at the plate. So again, we don't want to sag in our low back or our shoulders. We want to actively pull up, and we're going to hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So the reason why we use a plate instead of, say, a dumbbell is because it teaches us our wrist flexion. So if you're someone who's holding it and it's slightly tilted, you know that your wrists are a little bit stiff. You want to make sure they're nice and flat. Again, arms nice and straight, never bent, and actively pulling up, making sure the plate's not tilted forward or too far backwards. So that is it for the first drill. So the second drill we're gonna do is a box assisted handstand hold. This is a perfect drill for anyone who's literally never gone upside down ever. It provides a ton of support and you're not actually fully inverted, but it does teach you the proper alignment for your ears and your hands, as well as the hand positioning and the weight distribution. So heading down to the ground, planting our hands nice and firmly. We're gonna straighten our legs, placing one foot on the box, and then the other, we're just gonna stay in a nice tight tuck position. We're gonna push the weight into our fingertips, push up into our shoulders, and we're gonna hold. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We'll bend our knees back down, slowly come off the box, and then come down from the hold. So really important thing from here is if the box is too easy or if it's too hard, sometimes it's just the height of the box. So if you're a taller person, you might want to use something a little bit taller so that way it's easier to get your hips a little bit more stacked over your shoulders. If you find the box too easy, we can also move this drill to the wall. So starting with the wall handstand, we're gonna do the exact same thing with our hands, plant them firmly on the ground, straighten the legs, slowly walk your feet up, Starting in a tuck, you'll feel the weight into the wall. Slowly shift out to grab the floor with your fingers, and then push up to cover your ears, squeezing your core, pulling up, and you're gonna hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then slowly walk yourself down. So again, our eyes are focusing right between our Peter pointer and our thumb. Arms are staying nice and straight, and we're starting with the weight in the back of our hand. You'll straighten out your legs a little bit, and then again, grip the floor to get that firm positioning with your fingertips. So the third drill we're gonna do is a box-assisted shoulder shrug. So same positioning as our hold, but now we're gonna be moving up and down in our shoulders. So this is just to give you the positioning and awareness of when you're sinking into your shoulders versus pulling up nice and tall. So again, hands planted on the ground, just shoulder width apart, stepping slowly onto the box, pulling up. We're gonna be pushing up into our shoulders just like this, nice and tight, and then sagging and relaxing. Go for about 5 reps. So pushing up nice and tall, sagging in the shoulders, up nice and tall, and then relaxing. So really paying attention to the difference of each position. We'll go for one more. Pushing up, and then relax. And then slowly step off the box. This one, depending on your muscle endurance, you might have to do a couple less. I'm saying 5, but if you get tired after 2 to 3, come on down and relax. It's better to take your reps down rather than try to push through and kind of condition poor form. So moving on to the last drill, we're gonna be doing the handstand wall tuck weight shift. So hands will be planted on the ground. We're gonna slowly walk our feet up. Starting with our weight in the back of our hands, we're gonna transition, straighten the legs, have all the weight in the front of our hand into our fingertips, and then shift back towards the wall. Just like the tuck handstands, arms will stay straight the entire time, and then make sure those ears are covered by those arms as we shift forward. And then pop on down. So this drill is really good because for someone who's getting a little bit more comfortable with shifting into the hands, the wall is a good support and allows you to put as much weight into the wall as needed, but then shifting forward, you can really feel it into the top of your fingers and get that stacking position. So ideally you want to see shoulders, elbows, wrists, and then hips right above that just to stack all the way down. So that is the last drill that we're gonna cover today in terms of stacking and hand position. And just like all the other drills, we're gonna make sure that everything stays nice and tight with our core, as well as squeezing through and making sure we're breathing the entire time. So moving on from those drills, we're just gonna go over a couple of quick tips as well as some advice when it comes to having your hands on P-bars rather than flat on the floor. So a lot of the times people ask why I use P-bars. Mainly it's because it just protects my wrists a little bit better. Being in a stacked position on the P-bar is a lot less strenuous than being flat on the floor in a flex position. So if you're brand new to handstands and you're finding your wrists getting a little bit sore, try to do some drills like the L stands or the tuck stands on the P-bars. These ones I like the most just because they are lower to the ground. So again, if you're a beginner, being a little bit high up is scary. So having these ones that are lower are a lot more helpful for your training. These ones also double as a yoga block. So again, yoga block is really good because you can grab the front of it and it gives you more activation through your fingertips, which can transition into the floor a little bit better. A common mistake that I mostly see for handstands in terms of doing them while assisted or against the box, a lot of people like to push their weight through the wall rather than up and down through their shoulders and their hands. So that is basically the main tips and tricks for the hand placement and head placement. If you guys like this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you for episode 3.